This is a brief PowerPoint presentation on summary writing. In this case, the primary learning modality for online education is reading. The primary means of assessing your reading is by having you write about what you have read. This presentation will help you prepare summaries of the required reading for your instructor. Let us begin with a review of the differences between writing a summary and writing a paraphrase. In both cases, a summary and a paraphrase are written in your own words. When we use the words of a published text, we use quotation marks to indicate what we are quoting. When we summarize or paraphrase, we use our own words, even though the ideas we are expressing are the ideas of the published text. A summary is a brief report in our own words which identifies the main idea of the reading assignment and describes the main supporting points or ideas of the published author. A paraphrase is a restatement of the ideas of the assigned reading using our own words. Both a summary and a paraphrase are written in our own words. The difference is the detail. A summary is a brief report of the assigned reading's main and supporting ideas. A paraphrase is a restatement of the whole document or passage being paraphrased, idea by idea, following the sequence of ideas presented in the assigned reading. Imagine a reading assignment in which you are expected to read an essay by a distinguished journalist. Let's say the essay is about U.S. immigration policy. The journalist provides 3 main points in support of her thesis. In her discussion of the third main point, she includes a narrative example of a woman in Tennessee who has been waiting for a green card for 8 years. In a summary of the journalist's essay, we will describe the main argument of the essay, the journalist's thesis, and we will describe her 3 main points. We will write our summary using our own words. Any 3 words or more taken in sequence from the journalist's essay is considered a quoted passage and needs to be marked with quotation marks. However, the summary will not make any reference to the woman living in Tennessee waiting 8 years for a green card. That's a detail. Summaries do not include the examples or illustrations or details used in the assigned reading. If we paraphrase the journalist's essay, we will follow the journalist's ideas and organization point by point and describe what is mentioned in each paragraph. Thus, the paraphrase would include the information about the woman in Tennessee. A paraphrase is a parallel phrasing, following the assigned reading point by point. A summary simply identifies the main and supporting points of the essay. Step 1 for writing a summary is to read the assigned text which needs to be summarized. We want to read the complete text, and we want to read carefully to make sure we understand what the author is saying. We need to be able to identify the main idea expressed in the thesis statement, as well as the main supporting ideas of the text. When we are reading to summarize, we should take careful notes. However, in your notes, be careful to identify which words or phrases are being borrowed from the text and which words are our own. In my own research, I use 2 different colored pens. Any words borrowed from the text go into my notes in black ink, and my own restatement of the ideas go into my notes in blue ink. Step 2 of the writing a summary is to close the book. We need to remove the author's text from our field of vision. Summary writing is writing in our own words, and it has been demonstrated in clinical tests that the brain can pick up text through our peripheral vision even though we are not looking directly at a text. The best way to avoid plagiarism is to remove the text from view. Step 3 is to draft the summary. Remember that a summary is brief. If an assigned reading has one main idea expressed in the thesis statement and 3 main supporting ideas, our summary could be written easily in 4 sentences. That's 1 sentence to restate the thesis and 1 statement to restate each of the 3 main supporting ideas. Step 4 occurs after we have drafted our summary. We open the book or article and read it again. With our summary beside us as we read, we can see easily if we have correctly identified the main and supporting ideas of the assigned reading. We can see also if and where we use some of the author's words or phrases. During this step, it is important to look for any ideas in our summary which are not the author's ideas. Some students learn early in their education to report what an author says and then to disagree or to agree with the author's ideas. For the summaries in this course, the summaries are designed to demonstrate that you have read and understood the assigned reading. There will be other ways, other forums for expressing your agreement, disagreement, or evaluation. In the summary, we only report on the ideas of the author. When we restate someone else's ideas in our own words, we run the risk of misinterpreting the text, either deliberately or accidentally. As we check our summary against the assigned reading, we want to make sure we are not misrepresenting the author or the author's ideas. Step 5 involves making sure that we identify any words or phrases which we are borrowing from the author. Sometimes the author will use a word or a phrase which cannot be restated without changing the author's meaning. In these cases, it is important to use quotation marks and identify the quoted material. I mentioned earlier that any 3 words or more taken in sequence from the assigned reading is considered quoted material. However, there may be a particular word that the author uses which is simply the best word for the meaning. In these cases, we need to use quotation marks to identify that that word is taken directly from the author of the assigned reading. The point of writing a summary is to demonstrate our understanding of the assigned reading. Therefore, we want to keep quoted material to a minimum. Never quote information that can be restated easily. Step number 6 is to finalize your summary. Review what you have drafted. Make sure every sentence is written correctly. Make sure any quoted material is identified with quotation marks. In this class, you will be reading and summarizing the individual chapters of the required textbook. In each summary, remember to identify the source by author and title. For instance, you can begin your summary of Chapter 1 with something like this. In Chapter 1 of Thank You for Arguing, author Jay Henricks describes a simple argument he had with his son. Send your summaries to your instructor as email messages. Your summary will be the body of each email message. In terms of professional writing, always address the email message to your instructor. Always close the email message with your name. Do not attach a separate document. Send a separate email message for each chapter. Remember, the point of the summary writing is for you to demonstrate that you have read and understood the assigned reading. As you can see through the 6 steps outlined above, good summary writing takes time. Good luck.